About Climate Change
by Ashley Galdames,
Jacob Salvatore,
and Matthew Simpson. One of the contributing factors of climate change is the emission of greenhouse gases. These gases, such as CO2, methane, and water vapor, create a warming effect within the Earth's atmosphere, which increases the average global temperature by trapping the sun's rays.
Another contributing factor to climate change is the rate of deforestation. Because trees and plants are so vital to the elimination of CO2 in the atmosphere, the acceleration of deforestation could prove to be crippling to the Earth's ecosystem.
Positive feedback cycles also contribute to the acceleration of climate change. An example of positive feedback is the heating of the atmosphere, which causes wildfire in a rainforest. Once the rainforest burns down, CO2 emissions will not be absorbed as quickly, which results in more temperature increase, which results in more fires.
Climate change affects the human way of life by reducing the availability of water in certain areas, flooding coasts, and creating famine. It also creates an increase in rates of extinction among animals, reduces the availability of food for animals, and forces some species to migrate to places they otherwise would not move to.
According to the data displayed on this graph, there has been a significant spike in greenhouse gas levels. The years of this spike directly corresponds to the other graphs that show temperature increase. From this, we can draw the conclusion that the spike in greenhouse gases has led to a rise in global temperature.
The information in this graph depicts the annual frequency of North Atlantic tropical storms from 1925 to 2005. It can be seen that there has been an extreme increase in the frequency of severe storms. This is due to a warmer atmosphere fueling the amount of storms that occur.
This graph displays the average rate of extinction after the Industrial Revolution. It can be observed that the average rate of extinction is directly related to global temperature. This may be due to the temperature increasing at a rate that is too fast for animals to adapt to.
According to this graph, which shows the global average sea level from 1880 to 2011, sea levels have been steadily rising. This is due to thermal expansion that occurs in the water molecules because of an increased global temperature.
Based off the information given in this graph, it can be observed that carbon dioxide increase is directly related to temperature increase. Currently, there has been a spike in CO2 levels, which indicates that an increase in temperature will follow.
Coping with the effects of climate change is essential until a way to reverse its effects is discovered. To cope with increased sea levels, engineers have developed hydraulic sea gates that raise in order to prevent the flooding of cities during periods of extreme weather. Another change made in order to cope with increased sea levels is the raising of building foundations. These changes will prevent flooding of current buildings as well as ensure that future buildings will be safe from the.
To cope with increased frequency of fires, we must ensure that remaining plant life stays healthy and hydrated. This will not only help combat the emissions of CO2, but it will make it so that vegetation does not act as a fire starter.